Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. The top stories this hour. Ondo APC primary elections to hold in 13 Okitipupa wards Sunday. Another ward ESCO issues fresh suspension to APC national chairman. Togo's opposition kicks against the new constitution. Details of these stories and more shortly. Let's begin with updates on the All Progressives Congress governorship primary in Ondo State. The chairman of the primary election committee, Governor Usman Ododo of Kogi State, has announced that polls will be conducted in all 13 wards of Okitipupa local government area of the state by 12 noon today. In a statement he signed, the governor said this was the decision of the primary election committee, having received reports of the primary election from the 203 wards in the 18 local governments of the Ondo state. Now, there were reports that the exercise did not hold in the local government due to late arrival of materials and personnel as a result of logistics challenges. In the meantime, some of the stakeholders in the election have been crying foul over the election committee over how the election committee handled the electoral process. Now, the aggrieved party members alleged that the committee, which was headed by Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo, was biased in the assignment. Ododo, who arrived in the state on Saturday morning, addressed some of the aggrieved stakeholders at the distribution center in the Ijakpo area of Akure, saying that the electoral materials had been sent to the Ondo South and South North senatorial districts, remaining that of Ondo Central as at 10:30 a.m. local time.
You will recall that yesterday at the stakeholders meeting held at St. Thomas Event Center, the secretary of that committee that came from Abuja, Senator Oviomagege, informed us that collection of voting materials, which include the register of voters, that is the that is the membership register, the result sheet, and all the materials required for the election will be distributed to the electoral officers, whose name he announced to us in each of the 203 wards of Ondo State, that they should come to Bond Hotel, collect their materials. Accreditation will start by 10 o'clock to be completed by 1 o'clock. Voting proper will start from 1 o'clock and ends 2 o'clock. Then announcement of result. As I am talking to you now, this is 10:30. At 10:30, we have waited here since 6:30, believing that our people will collect the materials. Unfortunately, at about 9:30 a.m., His Excellency the Governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Ododo, came out to tell us that materials have been distributed. At what time, in what places, we don't know. Unfortunately for him, the returning officer and the electoral officer of my ward, Mahi Ward 2, Ilaje local government, who are resident in Ibadan, I told them to come here today so that they can collect the materials of my ward. Now they are here, they have not been able to collect the materials, and he had the infantry to tell us, all the other aspirants, that materials have been collected and results have been announced at 10 o'clock when accreditation should ordinarily start. So we have asked the question, and he blushed us and he rushed out because he had no answer to our pleasure.
Meanwhile, Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has expressed satisfaction over the turnout of party members to select their preferred candidate in the governorship primary of the All Progressives Congress in the state. Now, in the primary held across the 203 wards and 18 local government areas of the state, no fewer than 16 aspirants participated in the exercise. Speaking after being counted in the voting exercise, Ugbo Ward 4, Obenla, Ilaje local government area of the state, Aiyedatiwa described the party primary as a crucial step in determining the APC's flag bearer for the forthcoming governorship election. Now, the governor said he was confident in the democratic process and reiterated his commitment to upholding the principles of transparency and fairness in the party's selection of candidates.
In that oil-rich community, the land of my birth, Obenla, to exercise my right to vote and to be voted for, to be the flag bearer of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, in the forthcoming gubernatorial election. And as you can see, the turnout is so huge. I'm not expecting anything less, because this is where I was born, this is where I started my primary school, and I'm so happy also to see some of my classmates, at least 2 of them, they are here today to also welcome me to be part of this exercise. So it's been a great excitement for me to be here. And it actually took me back to the memory lane when I started.
Now let's cross over to Akure, the state capital, where our correspondent Niyi Omoni has been monitoring proceedings. Hello Niyi, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Dashin.
All right, Niyi, now the governor of Kogi State, Ondo, has actually announced that polls will be conducted in 13 wards of Okitipupa local government area of the state by noon today. And it's actually 8 minutes past noon. So can you tell us if it has commenced yet?
Well, information reaching us says that it hasn't commenced. We have people who are already standing by the electorate there. Party members, card-carrying party members are already on ground, ready to exercise their franchise. But of course, the same issues that were available yesterday, which has to do with late arrival of the materials, is still what is evident and is playing out today. Hopefully, in minutes or in hours, according to the information we're hearing, so the electoral officers will get to this location, 13 words to be precise, in Okitipupa local government, and they can commence the process. Whichever way it pans out, the collation will begin by 4 p.m. today, as we heard from the secretary, who is the former deputy senate president, Ovie Omoagege, and he has mentioned that to the press earlier today that by 4 p.m. announced collation will start at the Dome. So whether it commences or not at the local government or whatever the result is, it will keep trickling in while other collation continues at the Dome by 4 p.m. today.
Well, I'm very sure, Niyi, that you'll be bringing us updates in time. But then, what about the allegations of bias leveled against the election committee? You know, particularly the head, that's Governor Usman Ododo. How will it impact the perceived integrity of APC primary process in Ondo State? And what implications do you actually think that this might have for the party's cohesion and public trust?
The truth is, the man we had speak earlier, one of the aspirants, is just one of the, I think, 2 or 3 of other aspirants that have spoken up, either calling for cancellation, postponement, or saying that the election has not been free, fair, and transparent. Now, these are the issues that have been long treading, because from the beginning of the electoral process yesterday, there were already calls for foul plays, some places where they didn't even vote. And we might be looking at so much litigations once this APC primaries is over, because there are allegations and confirmations of various local governments across the state where election didn't even happen. And in the places where it actually did happen, there were violence, pockets of violence here and there, which disrupted the process. So there's still a whole lot around this thing. But of course, we know when we get to the collation center today, the chairman of the committee, who is the current governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, will be able to give us more information as to if there were real figures, real-time figures, if there were clashes where, if any word was cancelled because they didn't do the election by polling units, they did it by words. So we're going to get more of that information at the collation center today. But I can assure you of this. Words we are already hearing on ground suggest that there will be so much litigations after these APC primaries. But of course, we know these are internal issues. They might sort out by themselves because they still have other parties to contend with, even after the APC primary is done, as they look forward to the November election, main gubernatorial election.
We definitely hope that it doesn't get that far. But then thank you so much, Niyi. We will definitely be reconnecting with you, once the proceedings starts, okay? So do stay safe and catch up with you later.
For having me, Darshan.
All right, away from politics, the governor of Delta State, Southern Nigeria, Sheriff Oborewori, has finally visited Okwama community 5 weeks after 17 soldiers were ambushed and killed. The governor, who was accompanied by some government officials, reiterated that innocent citizens will not be made to suffer for what they know nothing about. News Central correspondent Austin Azu brings us details.
Okwama, Delta State, has been under a dark cloud since March 14, following the tragic killing of 17 soldiers. Fear gripped the community, forcing residents to flee for their safety. The Nigerian military designated Okwama a crisis zone, restricting access for everyone, including the governor. This decision was met with criticism, with many organizations demanding media access to document the situation.
Access by the media is a crime scene, even in civil crime. You see, they will tape it everywhere. So that is a crime scene. Investigation has not been concluded. So we are still, I don't think it will be appropriate for you, anybody, to go there and interfere with investigation.
After 5 weeks, Delta State Governor Sheriff Obrewori, accompanied by military officials, finally visited Okwama. Speaking to journalists, the governor reassured that his administration is actively working to resolve the underlying disputes. He also offered hope for the displaced residents, stating their imminent return.
Why I've come here to see how the innocent people can be relocated back with the cooperation of the military. We know it's very painful for this great loss, and you have to follow a process. That's what we are following. In that process, we are healing the wound, because also too they are so very bitter. The army is so very bitter. So we will manage them. So the issue is this. They assured me, Mr. President, the Chief of Army Staff, assured that no innocent person will be victimized. So the process of relocating them back is on the second process. We are on it already. We will bring them back. We are talking with the military. So it's not a day job.
News Central remains committed to providing regular updates. Recall our previous report highlighting the initial unrest in Okwama. The pathway to normalcy for Okwama may be long, but News Central will continue to follow the developments and hold authorities accountable for a peaceful resolution and the well-being of the displaced community. In Delta State, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Earlier, Executive Assistant Delta State Governor's Office, Fred Ogenesive, shared his thoughts on this.
The most important information is that the two communities have been having these conflicts for quite some years, and the state governor stepped in, set up a committee to look into the matter. The state secretary to the state government, the special advisor on peace and conflict resolution, and very senior members of government officials went to Okwama, discussed with them. They came back at a larger, meeting, and the two committees, signed a peace agreement that the issue was over. So it was very, very surprising to us to see that this Okwama thing came up again, and the governor is very surprised. We in government also were surprised, because when you have mediated between two parties and they have accepted peace and they signed a peace document, we do not expect that should happen. And that is why we keep saying that the Okwama killing came to us as a very, very big surprise. And I do hope this will not happen in the future.
Joining us to give us an update on this is our correspondent in Delta State, Austin Azu. Hello, Austin. Thank you for joining us at this time. Now, finally, after what feels like a long wait, that's like 5 weeks, the governor has visited the community of Okwama. What impact would you say his visit actually made?
Yeah, first, good afternoon to you. Let's begin by saying that the governor's visit to Okwama yesterday signal a lot of activities that may likely seems to be like peace and normalcy will gradually return to the community, and perhaps the inhabitants of Okwama will start making their ways back to their community. But the most surprising thing about the return to their community may likely going to be, where would they begin from? Where would they start from? From the footages we have seen so far, we saw most all the houses leveled down. The military level the houses down. But from the assurance that the government gave to the people of Okwama, didn't suggest that the military would definitely going to go and level the whole community down. So I don't know if those promises made to the government were actually sustained regarding the aspect of no innocent persons will be victimized. Are we in any way saying that the whole community involved in this heinous crime against the nation? I doubt. But however, the residents of Okwama will be so happy to return back to their home. But in a broken pieces, where would they begin from? How would they begin their life again? Because obviously, from what we reported earlier on and from what we reported few minutes ago, suggests that the only building standing in the community still remains the church and the community town hall. So it's going to be very difficult for the people to find succor at the end of the day to begin life again. Now, another aspect that we're going to be looking at again, what about the casualty of those that, that lost their lives in the community? Because, however, the reports we have been able to get so far indicated that 17 soldiers were killed. But what about the innocent ones that were actually, during this process, no one will tell us that someone or property were not destroyed. Let's look at the property that were destroyed now. Who is going to pay for those damages? Who is going to respond to this cause? However, I doubt if this will surely meet the light of the day. But to add to that as well, as some lawyers have actually taken the Nigeria military to, they have taken them to court, landed over 200 billion naira damages, expecting that they will respond to their demands. But it's going to be very difficult for the settlers of Okwama to come back and begin life again and meet life where they left life. It's going to be very difficult, and I doubt that they have to start from the scratch. Like the old
Absolutely,
woman we
Austin.
interviewed,
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. But then you talked about, lawyers taking the army to court. Now, aside that, some of the stakeholders in the community as well have kicked against the panel of inquiry that has been set up by the Nigerian army. What updates do you have on this?
We are still expecting the panel of inquiry to turn in their report. It's approximately about a week plus since they commenced this investigation. And before the governor went there sometime yesterday, and the military have been going there on a regular basis, but nobody has accompanied them to that place. So it means this time around, I think their panel of inquiry has been made open, unknowing to many of them, that the governor has visited the place, the media have accessed the place as well, and to a large extent, we have known the extent of the new look of Okwama at the moment. I think the way forward now is that we'll be expecting the military to turn in their panel of inquiry, their report, and thereafter the governor has actually promised that he's going to submit his own report to the military as well. But to some extent, it didn't go down well with a lot of persons here because they are saying that you cannot be a judge in your own case because the military are being involved and they are the one now conducting this panel of inquiry. So it means that something definitely might likely going to go wrong in this process. But however, the most important thing in this whole situation is that let the people of Okwama return to their ancestral home and begin life again.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Austin Azu, for sharing that update with us.
You're most welcome.
All right, with that, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, News Central Now returns. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, a human rights lawyer, Deji Ajare, has urged the Speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly, Umar Yusuf, to begin impeachment proceedings against the Kogi State Governor, Usman Ododo, over allegations of misconduct and abuse of office. Ajare made the call in a letter addressed to the Speaker through the clerk of the House. Now, according to him, the use of the governor's motorcade to ferry away the embattled former governor of the state, Yahaya Bello, amounted to the harboring of a fugitive, obstruction of justice, and the misuse of state resources. Now, it was reported that the governor had whisked away his predecessor at about 4:20 p.m. last Wednesday after operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission besieged the latter's Abuja residence to arrest him in connection with an 80.2 billion naira money laundering case. Now, to further discuss this, I'm joined by Executive Director, Sterling Center for Law, Deji Ajari. Hello, Deji. Thank you so much for joining me at this time.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me today.
All right, now, to what extent does Governor Ododo's alleged use of state resources, such as his motorcade, to facilitate the departure of Yahaya Bello constitute an abuse of power or obstruction of justice, and how does this align with the whole legal standard?
Yes, Governor Yahaya Bello, Governor Usman Ododo, rather, is an elected government official. He is sitting in a fiduciary relationship with the people of Kogi State, and he is in a position of trust, entrusted with the resources and the rights of the citizens of Kogi State. And these resources are intended to be deployed for the benefit of those people of Kogi State. Now, when these resources are deployed for reasons other than the primary interest of the people of Kogi State, such as diversion of such resources to satisfy, and that is exactly our point here. The point is that when a person is entrusted with public funds or public office or public authority, such as a governor, it is important that we as citizens carefully monitor their activities to ensure that they do not deploy these things for personal gains or to protect their personal and political interest, just like Governor Ododo is alleged to have done in aiding the escape of former Governor Yahaya Bello and harboring him in the State House, as have been widely reported in several reputable media houses. And so it is important that those who are constitutionally empowered to do so, the Kogi State House of Assembly, look into this, investigate, and if the governor is indeed found wanting, to take steps to immediately impeach the governor.
All right, now let's talk about, the role that the Kogi State House of Assembly should play in investigating allegations of misconduct against the governor. What steps do you think that they can take to ensure a fair and impartial inquiry into this matter?
Thank you very much. Fair and impartial inquiry into this matter. Now, the Constitution is very clear. It has already envisaged situations like this, and in Section 188 of the Constitution, as amended, it makes clear step-by-step provisions for what the State House of Assembly should do when allegations of abuse of office, of misconduct such as this, are made against a governor or deputy governor. And first, what they need to do is, amongst themselves, they need to collate signatures and send to him and expect him to respond to those allegations. Now, of course, without any doubt, if this is to be done impartially, that means those who are alleging that the governor came and aided the escape of the governor must also be called in. That means the APC must be brought in. Those agents, those sources who knew what happened at the residence of the governor, of the former governor on that day, must also be invited, because that is the only way you can get a balanced, fair, and impartial report of what transpired on that day. Then when that happens, when you get that report, when they, as the legislators, get that report, it is only then that they can now decide whether indeed there has been an infringement or not. And if there has been an infringement, without much ado, they set up a panel. I mean, the chief judge of the state will set up a panel at the request of the State House of Assembly. And this is all that we're asking that they should do. It is not in doubt that the State House of Assembly is an appendage of the executive in Kogi State. And one really has doubts whether indeed they will take these steps. But it is important too, as citizens, that we must do our part so that we can at least have it on record that we did our part, and that having called on the legislators to do their part, they have failed to do so. Because at the moment, after the receipt of the letter, the clerk, the spokesperson of the Kogi State House of Assembly has reported to have said, oh, it did not happen. And one wonders how indeed they knew or they know if they were not at the venue of the alleged infringement.
All right, Deji, so, you talked about, misuse of office by the governor, but can his actions be described as a violation of the rule of law? And if so, what legal mechanisms are available to address such violations within the state's governance structure?
Now, like I have said earlier, when a person is entrusted or is put in a position of trust and that person misuses or uses that position for reasons other than the primary reasons for which they were entrusted with that authority, then it is, of course, an abuse of the power and authority that they have. Now, the question I would ask is, or rather, the question any reasonable person should ask is this. The resources that the Kogi State people have entrusted on Governor Usman Ododo, including, of course, the finance, the funding, the motorcade, the residents, and all of that, and of course, police protection and the immunity which accrues to him, are these things meant for the protection of Governor Usman Ododo's political allies or political godfathers? I do not think so. I think it is obvious that that is not the purpose. And so when the governor now does that, like I said, there are allegations that in fact he has been, the former governor has been in hiding in the government house. There are allegations that in fact it is the governor's motorcade that has been carrying the former governor around the country. If this indeed is true, then clearly this is an abuse of the trust that is conferred
but
on
that's
the
still an allegation
current governor
until it is ascertained.
Sorry?
I said those are still allegations until they've been ascertained.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are allegations. And that is the reason we are calling on those who are constitutionally authorized to investigate to do so. You see, if you look at the clear wordings of our call to the State House of Assembly, it is nothing but merely drawing their attention to these allegations, which are already rife, like I said, widely reported in even all of the reputable media houses in Nigeria. They have reported them. And so if this is so, then it is concerning for me as a Kogi State, indigene, it should be concerning for anybody who also holds any elective office in Kogi State, because if it turns out to be true, I consider it quite embarrassing. And if it is so, then the legislators who have the power, who have the mandate and the authority, the responsibility actually to investigate ought to do so. And that is what we're saying they should do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Deji, for speaking with us on this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, local community leaders in Borno State are brainstorming on strategies to address social vices and promote reconciliation with reintegrated de-radicalized Boko Haram members. Al-Amin Foundation for Peace and Development spearheaded the stakeholders' engagement in Maiduguri, bringing together community leaders, youth organizations, and law enforcement agencies to better the society. Now, News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The engagement, where participants share their experiences, insights, and suggestions on how to address some of the problems being faced in Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and Jere. It was a remarkable show of unity and determination within the community to find lasting solutions to the challenges posed by past conflicts.
God knows very well we have solved a lot of security problems in our world. Virtually now, I believe, if not the children delinquency, but rest of the major problems have already been solved.
We introduced community members to the concept of early warning and response systems. Basically, at the community level, what they can do in terms of being proactive in identifying potential security threats within the communities, as well as possible channels that they can follow to report some of those security threats.
The participants recognized the importance of addressing the root causes of radicalization and fostering economic opportunities to reintegrated individuals.
The problem beginning from the dealers. When no dealer, no any drunken person or smoking person or go and buy this thing to do this thing. So my advice is government should take action about these peoples.
We have to collaborate with the parents and the religious leaders in our wards. We have to involve the religious leaders, the imams and the Quranic malams, because we have sangayas everywhere. We talk to their malams and also imams in our wards, the parents too. We have to meet from time to time, explain the situation to them.
They emphasized the need for community-driven solutions and urged for greater collaboration between government, NGOs, and the community itself.
So we have discussed with the participants on avenues that they can follow at the community level to support those youths that are out of jobs, out of school, with ways that they can engage in apprenticeships and also enroll in free education services provided by the government.
The engagement also focused on empowering communities with tools and knowledge necessary for early warning and early response. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
There are still unanswered questions to the tragedy at Gandute community located in Kura local government area of Kano State, where more than 30 members of the community have died from a strange illness. News Central Television visited the community, which is about 1 hour drive from the city center, to investigate the situation and the illness, which has left many residents in pain.
The mystery illness that visited Gundunse community is reported to have claimed about 45 members of the community. Residents of the community, while still at a loss, have not identified the cause of the illness.
Tun daga azumi kawo yanzu ana ta rasuwar yara ƙananu da kuma manyan mutane.
Since the beginning of Ramadan fasting, we have been seeing children and adults die. There has been a lot of talk on ground. They came to test our water and confirmed nothing was wrong with the water. We are not aware of any sickness that is responsible for the death. We are just experiencing death every now and then. The number of people that have died is 37. But it's more of small children. The symptoms exhibited by those who die are headache, running temperatures, and then later they will die, while some recover after careful examination. Children of 12, 13, 14 years are the age bracket that have died from this strange sickness. Out of 30 deaths, 25 are male.
Yahuza Rabiu, having lost his son on Salah Day to this strange illness, says the 2024 Ramadan will continue to be one to be remembered because of the pain that would not be soon forgotten.
At first, he wanted to bathe and go for the Salah celebration. Then he started complaining of neck pain and back pain. We took him to the chemist and he was given an injection and drugs. Later, we took him to the hospital and 3 days later, he died. I took her to the hospital and she was injected once. I am supposed to go back again because she's still running temperature and confused.
While some allege that health workers who came to conduct preliminary investigations are speculating the disease could be coming from the community water source, others think otherwise. However, a look at the community borehole leaves much to be desired and raises questions about the sanitary conditions of the community.
I am calling on the government to come and check the situation on ground, since the suspect is the community drinking water, so they can run another test.
The community leaders were not on ground when News Central visited, so we opted to visit the community health center. They declined speaking on the issue. Fortunately for the team, we saw workers from the State Ministry of Health. However, our luck was short-lived as they also declined to speak, but admitted investigations are ongoing. The state of the Community Health Center has raised unanswered questions on how serious government takes facilities at the basic health level.
Although we don't know the actual figures of those who may have died
as a result of this strange illness because the villagers are giving different numbers. This is one of the grave sites where some of those who died as a result of this illness were buried. Now, when you look closely, we have 7 graves here, and because of the size of the grave, 3 adults are buried here, while the remaining 4 belongs to the children that died as a result of this illness. And then the villagers are saying this particular strange illness is new to them because it hasn't happened in the history of this community. And therefore, they are calling on government to intervene. In Kanu for News Central, Marvelous Obomban.
Quite a disheartening story there. We do hope that the root cause of this illness and deaths is unearthed very soon. Now, barely 2 weeks after the mysterious death of an officer cadet in a hotel in Umuahia, a 24-year-old student of Federal Polytechnic, Wana Chinedu Hope, has died after being allegedly drugged by a group of young men from his hometown in Agboibeku in Umuahia North local government area of Abia State. Now, reports indicate that Chinedu was taken from his family home by his close friend Daniel, also from Agboibeku. Now, News Central's Chingwe Ugele visited the Hope family to understand the details surrounding his heartbreaking event.
It is a grief-laden atmosphere in the late Chinedu's family house as his parents narrate how they learned about their son's death.
Take it down. Chedu ji choro down. Gawa na bunk. Asna Chinedu puru na bunk. Ma yoko. Onye nwe bunk se. No wonya ula batareba. Na nga angu ihe. Chinedu si yoko. Na ga angu. Na da angu ihe nda. Yoko si keke Chinedu ediri. Dan ha ke Chinedu ediri. Dan ibira bia kporo Chinedu nga. Miss eyes, Miss Jiko, were ngaji, Bawayon, Walaya.
Now, we girl ona achelo now, of which on Wednesday Kagaraga meche may non a list. In Dalile, Hota, my sobataru, my son, Yana Hotishi, Messisia, my son, Anna Poesi, the toy baby, Troya, poor. Time no me we no ya. Drew one poor bulata zere menos. Ojurumanya.
Chinedu Hope, a 300-level student of Federal Polytechnics, Owana, died on the same day he turned 24, leaving behind his heartbroken family, including a pregnant wife. His family described him as an enterprising and focused young man who minded his business.
Agulonye nerute wanne mu nwoke nso ịnaghọta so to nerute nso na anyị na-ahụta ya as part of family.
Police in Abia State say they have apprehended Daniel Otuochere alongside others linked to the crime while investigations go on. Behind Yoko's house is his bunk, believed to be where Chinedu was drugged until he lost consciousness. The father wants the government to look into the menace of substance abuse by young people.
Kagometi batano kuya odike ihe aneme n'obodo na-eme iru mokorobia na-eme ha mangokwa kekpa n'aka nri ha si na na-ere drug.
This is one death too many in recent times in Abia State that has left families devastated, but also exposed some societal ills involving young people. It is therefore a wake-up call for the government and the society to do more in combating substance abuse, discouraging bullying, and also arresting and suing culprits to serve as deterrent to others. In Umuahia for News Central.
Thank you, Chingwe, for that report. Now, the news continues in West Africa, where the adoption of the new Togolese constitution unanimously by the Togolese MPs is fueling tension between the ruling party and the opposition. Now, this is coming just 9 days before the legislative and regional elections. During a press conference in Lomé, the opposition calls for the mobilization of Togolese citizens against the regime of Faure Gnassingbé. Nasimbe has been in power since 2005 following his father's nearly 38-year rule of the country.
Mais si on s'entête et qu'on nous la présente au début, nous disons c'est très simple. Aux chers compatriotes, donnons-nous les moyens qu'il faut, donnez-nous ces moyens-là. Dès qu'on arrive à l'Assemblée, ce qu'ils croient avoir fait contre nous, nous allons le défaire.
Alors je pose la question, 6 ans mandat unique et 4 ans renouvelables une fois, qu'est-ce qui est plus long? Alors, je ne comprends pas ce qu'ils ont fait. Et je ne cherche pas à comprendre. Je dis aujourd'hui, nous sommes sous la Constitution de 1992. Un point, un trait. Nous allons aux élections pour ça.
News Central continues after the break. Now, in other news from around the world, Israelis and family members of hostages held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip have protested in Tel Aviv, calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Hamas took around 250 hostages during its unprecedented attack on southern Israel on October 7th. Israel believes that 129 remain in Gaza, including 34 who are presumed dead. Around 100 were released during a ceasefire in November.
I have no words about what's going on here, and in my worst dream, I couldn't imagine that Jews and Israelis will do what we are doing now in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank. And I'm calling the world to help us against us.
Now in business, the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Yemi Cardoso says the Apex Bank's forex reforms have made the Naira the best performing currency globally. Nigeria's currency lost massively against major currencies in the past few months. But Cardoso, who spoke in a briefing on the sidelines of the just-ended World Bank IMF Springs meeting in Washington, D.C., United States, said the CBN's foreign exchange reforms are paying off. Cardoso said Nigeria's forex market is experiencing robust activities, with turnover reaching levels not seen in over 7 years. The CBN chief, however, assured that he is not carried away by this, and he is well aware of the challenges facing the nation's economy, including the rising inflation rate. Now, in the world of sports, Africa's fastest man, Ferdinando Manyela, finished 5th in the men's 100-meter race at the Kipkenko Classic at Nyayo Stadium, Kenya. Now, this was the first race Omanyala ran in the 100 men's meter category in 2024. He clocked 10.03 seconds. Meanwhile, fellow Kenyan Mark Odhiambo finished 6th with 10.22 seconds. Kenneth Badnarek of the United States won the race with a time of 9.91 seconds. Meanwhile, Liberia's Emmanuel Matadi came in second with a time of 9.99 seconds, while Great Britain's Jeremiah Azu rounded up the top 3 with 10 seconds.
I can't face the weather, but I mean, we're just where we are. I mean, we have to build up towards the Olympics. We're at the World Relays now, and then after that we'll do a couple of races in the US, and then we'll do a couple of them again in Europe, and then life teaches you how to handle stuff, and you know, the races humble you at some point. So, and then we are approaching this season in a different way. So now we're just building up the 100.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Ondo APC primary elections to hold in 13 Otitipupa wards Sunday. We also told you that another ward exco has issued fresh suspension to APC national chairman. Finally, you heard that Togo's opposition party has kicked against the new constitution. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.